All right, truth seekers, welcome back. And if you're new to the podcast, I'm Roderick Martin with Why the Big Secret, your host. Here you're going to find some daily updates on news, some secrets, some unexplained, some paranormal, and so much more. I'm a UFO investigator for the MUFON Network, also hosting a TV show on the Alien Endgame, which is on Discovery Plus right now airing. Also, I'm in a documentary, Black Knight Satellite, so you definitely want to check that out. But in the meantime, I want you to sit back and enjoy this episode about Bigfoot. This is a story that surfaced about Bigfoot, and did it attack this homeowner? And the question is, what would you do if you're sitting at home watching TV? Something that's throwing rocks at the windows. It's definitely not a high school thing where somebody's trying to get your attention, but it was a Bigfoot or maybe something unhuman. This would happen, and we're going to talk about this today on the podcast. So definitely check it out because it will interest you. Thank you, and have a great day. Hello, truth seekers. This is Roderick Martin, and it is Tuesday. I want to welcome you guys to the channel. And if you're tuning in for the first time, this is Why the Big Secret, and where we will talk about a lot of topics such as that UFO news, the paranormal, unexplained, and so much more. And I'm your host, Roderick Martin, and I want to welcome all the truth seekers. We got a great show for you tonight. Our main topic we'll be talking about in just a moment. But in the meantime, if you just meet me for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're not, truth seekers, you know the drill. Put it into the chat. Let me know you're there, and then we'll do that. So let me crank us up here on Clubhouse because we should be live right about now. And let me start that particular room. And should have already did it, but, let's kick it off. Let's do it right now. So, all right. So we're now live in the Clubhouse audio. So let me set that up for everyone else. And if you are going to be listening in on Clubhouse, you can check us out and truly get some conversation tonight from what we're doing. So I'm pretty excited about that. So again, I want to welcome that Clubhouse audience. I'm Roderick Martin. We're streaming live from YouTube. So definitely, if you want to get in on this conversation, you can. And all you have to do is come on over, like the channel, like the video that we're going to be doing. And that will help as well because it is important that you do so. So anyway, so hope everyone had a great day today. We will let me just set one more setting here over here in Clubhouse so the audio could be at its greatest quality as it needs to be. And we will do that. All right, so we're set. So if you're listening to us on Clubhouse, welcome. I'm Roderick Martin. Once again, we're live streaming from YouTube. If you want to come over to YouTube, I'm kind of a hybrid. I got a face for TV and a face for radio. So you definitely could come over and take a look once we do that. So we got a great conversation that we're going to be talking about. First, as always, I like to kind of thank the people that's part of the show or what we're doing here, and that's definitely all of the truth seekers and everything else. So let me give homage to them real quickly. Here we go. This is our truth seekers. These are people that's part of our membership, which is $5 a month that support the channel. And we're still looking for more people. These are our contributors as well as investigators. And they all are on a list now that gets UFO news from all over the world, a system that we have. And they're able to look at stories before anyone else, pick some interesting topics, things that we can talk about. If you want to join us with that, you definitely can do that. And that is right here on the screen. It's also in the YouTube description because become a truth seeker, and we love your support for that as well from there. And once again, if you want to sponsor our shows, you can kind of do that. We have the podcast open, YouTube live stream videos, website, internet ads, everything. Our reach is about 50,000 now. It's growing. This is on a monthly basis, and so therefore you will have some things there. And then, of course, you see my personal request at the bottom, and that is going to be partnering with anyone when it comes down to a weight loss situation from there. So, man, this is a great day. So once again, I want to let me look in the chats real quick. We got Nicole is here today. She just watched her interview on Bigfoot yesterday. So we're going to have a lot of conversations. And then we have Renee, as always, here, and everyone else. So, all right, somebody said, I'll come into the Clubhouse room. All right, you can do that. Go into the Clubhouse room. Check us out. But in the meantime, we're live. We're doing that. So how about we shut this down, and we're going to get ready to get into our conversations today, starting with what's in the news. That's some things that I like to discuss. But in the meantime, I want you to, we're still looking for more support on the Discovery Plus channel. We're ranked number 2 with the Alien Endgame in that kind of category this week. And so I want to be the number 1. I want to be the number 1 show that people are watching there. So get you a subscription over to Discovery Plus. You can get a free trial, but check out the movie Alien Endgame. I'm one of 3 hosts. I'm hosting that, and so that's one of my debut into the film and television. So definitely check it out. And then, as always, with Billy Carson, I mean, that documentary, The Black Knight Satellite, and with, one of the experts there. And I'll show you a clip of that in a few minutes with one of my parts and let you can kind of see it. So I'll air that somewhere within the show tonight. But again, there's going to be other things that's coming out next month and on Fox Tubi. And then, of course, I'm in GAIA and all that. So I just want you to know that this is some exciting times, and we got a few bombshells we're going to talk about later on into the show, but I just want to share that with you. And let me check my chats before we get started. All right, so we're going to get going. So I'm going to get going with what's in the news first. I like to kind of go over some of the top stories that interest me and I think that'll interest you. And those are things that I think that we need to really kind of look at. So story number 1, there's a psychic out there, and his name is Geller, and he claims that NASA is about they're lying. He said they're totally lying about the discoveries of Mars. And one of the things he talks about, he was just saying that and he quotes, it's definitely not natural or Mars made. And he's talking about that. He says that any rational person like yourself, me, or whoever, any logical person would tell you that it can't be a rock and twisted wreckage or something. And what he's saying is that when you look at some of the things on NASA, on the rocks, then he's just saying, and here's a picture of this guy. So you probably know him. He's known for bending spoons, and he's a psychic, kind of like the Matrix. And again, his name is Uri Geller. So if you recognize him, look him up. And he has an interesting background. But once again, he is out there saying NASA is flat out lying. I don't know. What do you think about that? We talked about this a lot in our shows. So what do y'all think about, NASA when it comes down to their involvement in this UFO phenomena? And I think we talk about that. They're trying to get in on a game of money. They sitting here always talking about, well, yeah, we're now going to join the search for extraterrestrial. And there's been proof all along that they've been knowing, and there's a lot of stuff. And there's something that's going to be so huge that we're going to talk about later that just kind of broke. And remember I told you how we monitor Twitter and a lot of things? I'll show you a little bit. And I think it's something we're going to talk about tomorrow. But we're going to talk about some of it a little later before we get into our main story. But anyway, that guy is a psychic, and he's saying that NASA is lying. So I don't know if he's picking it up because he feels that there's some psychic. But okay, so the next news is a CIA officer. His name is John Lear. He says millions of aliens live on the moon. okay, how do we say this? How do we look? And he actually had a photo, and this is the photo where he kind of shows, it's kind of grainy, but supposedly that's supposed to be some entrance to some place on Mars where the extraterrestrials, and he said they're little gray aliens. And one of his story is that he says by revealing these details about millions of humanoid aliens, all right? You hear me say that again, humanoid aliens. He said that's living on the moon, and he said that he has evidence that these creatures have visited our planet and continue to do so today. And he also stated that they have underground cities that exist under the surface of the moon, in which where those gray aliens live. All right, so I think we've touched that on a while, but these are bona fide people that are now starting to come forward and releasing all this information. And that's the most shocking part of it. We got former intelligence officers, then we have, military people, higher up scientists, and when there was a time that you wouldn't find those type of people talking at all. And this guy is a former CIA officer, which CIA stands for the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States. Now, I don't know what their domestic provision is, but I do know supposedly they're supposed to be the one who monitors things outside the country, abroad and stuff like that. But for him to be saying this, and once again, we need to check into it. So if any of you know who this guy is or whatever, let's get some more information and show it later. But here's the shot again. And this is the crater or some type of interest, he's saying, to those underground cities on the moon. And I'm just like, okay, man, I want to see the evidence, though, definitely. And then if it is, I'm going to ask this question, why a big secret? Why are we not told? Now, we know that there was a movie, Moonfall, that came out with Halle Berry in it, and she gave the big theory of what's really happening on the moon, and it's hollow, and there's AI intelligence, and really it's a satellite. So that now he's going against the grain. He's going against the grain. For him to be saying that there's millions of humanoids. Now, I don't know the definition of humanoid. I don't know if that means some type of robot, or somebody help me out in the chat. What does humanoid mean from there? And so those are one of the things. And so, yeah, Brian said this is 30-year-old news. He's passed away. Well, it came up today. It came up in the headlines today about it. And so maybe it's something that they are trying to revisit on, Brian, if that's the case. And so definitely we'll make sure that's the same person. But either way, why for them to be, coming up with this. And we all hear that the moon, again, is supposed to be some satellite, some artificial intelligence. And then we do hear the stories that the Greys live there. So all of those things. And again, it's in the headlines today. So when these things pop up, we like to try to do that. So we're going to get to one more headline right now. And this one here is basically saying that trash on Mars, all right? And NASA finds human junk on another planet. Now, the scientists who are involved in this are saying they don't know how it got there. They don't even know what it is. And so basically, they're saying it took decades, but we finally done it. We officially let our trash onto another planet. And it's all about the NASA Perseverance Mars rover. Let me give you a shot. But here's what they tweeted right there. So some think it's a piece of, some of the metal or something. But what they're saying is scientists are saying they don't know what it is. They don't know where it comes from. And, of course, the rover stumbled upon it, meaning he was in an area that we have not been as humans or explored, and they saw this. So what do you guys think that is? So what do you think we're looking at when it comes down to this image, and why would, they're saying that they don't know what this thing is. And so again, it's about human junk. So let me kind of check the chats here and see what you guys think when it comes down to this from there. Humanoid means human-like. Okay, see, I'm glad you said that. Is it Ashita? And I appreciate that, because I'm thinking, if it's human-like, are they hybrids, or they that story that we hear grays are mechanical and they're not really real? They're just some type of biosuits around this mechanical bodies and all of those things. And, the rabbit hole just continued to get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, which allows me to say, what the heck is really happening? Once again, if you're in Clubhouse listening, I appreciate you. We're live here on YouTube. And if you want to hit the pinned link within the thing of Clubhouse, it'll bring you over to YouTube. Just like the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not from there. But so we got two of everything, like us, upright walking, and metric. Okay, so all right, man. I don't know. I think for them to say the scientists don't know what it is, that rover seeing this particular stuff while it's exploring, it could be debris, space debris that flying around in space. But how did it end up landing on Mars? And then you always hear just rumors that Mars has more than what we know. And so those are a lot of things that we're going to. Now, we got a great, some information and things that we're going to be talking about here. And so I just thought, man, it was just pretty interesting to go there. So coming up next, as we're going to get down into it, we got some great Twitter updates. As you saw yesterday, we're going to talk about some old news. I found another article that's old that we're going to talk about, and why you should watch this. This is some things that, when I talk about your mind is your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. And so it's all about us opening our minds and finding out more information. So, opening our minds so that when we see things that our eyes see, that we can interpret it and not be like, oh man, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And if you believe UFOs are real, if you believe that we're not alone in this universe, you won't say that. You'll be like, oh, wow, what? Or you might not even be startled, because we know some of these encounters cause some mental anguish, and maybe it's about preparation. So we definitely want to open everybody's mind. But we're going to be talking about the Bigfoot attack. That's a story that just came out a little bit. And if you were part of the Truth Seekers, you should have gotten that article. Well, I don't know. You might have missed it because I was sending you guys articles out twice a day through the system. But this just showed up in the UK about 3 or 4 hours ago, which means that the U.S. won't hear about it till tomorrow. We're going to be talking about this early. That's the benefits of being part of the Truth Seeker membership, because we're monitoring stuff everywhere. And then again, that's one of those benefits. So we're going to be talking about that coming up. But in the meantime, we're going to have a little fun like we did yesterday and go over a couple of things that I think that we would do just to kind of get your mind opening so that we can move into our next directions. And so we will go into some of our questions for today. And one in particular, check it out. I need to know your answers. I know the Truth Seekers. I appreciate y'all participating and helping me really navigate through these things. And before I move on, NASA's already confirmed that this fall debris was a piece of thermal blanket from the rover's entry vehicle. They're going to do that, C-Tex. I think that's just something they need to do to cover up, but there we go. So anyway, you guys are watching the question. And the question says, would you rather, and I just really want to know, would you rather be forced to lick 1,000 envelopes nonstop, or would you be forced to fold 1,000 pieces of clean laundry nonstop? I don't know how gruesome none of that would be, but I know, man, if you had to lick 1,000 envelopes, what would your tongue feel like at the end of 200 of them, and then what your fingers are feeling like, folding. So, ladies and gentlemen and everything else. So what do you guys think? Let me see you in the post. And if you're in Clubhouse, post it, your thoughts down in the chat, then I'll see it. And again, of course, so 2 people. Steph says laundry. All right. And Nicole says laundry. Why laundry? Tell me why. Why not the envelopes? Would the envelopes pose a problem, or still, you're doing 1,000 pieces. So think about moving these things around. 1,000 pieces. I don't know. But you're right. Okay. So Ross said he would hate to cut my tongue. Ooh. Man, you know what, Ross? I have to agree with you on that. I didn't even think about that you could, man, you slice your tongue. That is some painful stuff. And man. So, okay. So I guess at this point, so far, Nicole said, I don't want paper cuts on my tongue either. So I didn't even think about that. I was thinking just, saliva just drying up, and Steph says she likes laundry. It's cathartic for her. It's soothing. And then, of course, Ross says paper cuts. And everybody says, I don't want paper cuts on my tongue. So there we go. That's the jury on that one. So now, as we know, we going to have a little fun here real quick. And I don't want you to kind of understand that one, but you probably see that real quick. But here's the story. Real quick, this is the impossible question of the day. We did one yesterday. So, and I may have slipped up a little bit. You might have just seen the answer pop up. But if you paying attention, you did. And someone else said laundry is better too. So the impossible question of the day. This is it. Yep, we're gonna do it. Then we're gonna get into that Bigfoot stuff, as our main story in a little bit, Nunez. So get ready. So the impossible question is: you have me today, tomorrow you have me more, and as time passes, I'm not easy to store, but I don't take up much space. What am I? And this is to open up your mind because we have to think. I got a couple of things for you. So let's see and if you're in Clubhouse, you can answer it. It's called an impossible question if you got the answer. And it says, you have me today, and tomorrow you'll have more. And as time passes, I'm not easy to store, but I take up place. I take up space. What am I? So anybody want to take a stab at it? You'll get a free, applause if you get the answer right. I'll give you some something like that. So there it goes on screen. Anybody taking a stab at it? And of course, I got an answer for you, of course. So it's up to you. And maybe because it's impossible to answer is why nobody's answering. So we may have got you. Steph said memories. You okay. Steph said memories. All right. That'll work. Mm-hmm. Quick eyes, I should say. Let me look in Clubhouse. Nicole says sunlight. All right. So you have me today, tomorrow. Well, tomorrow it could be, the answer's air. Apple says air. Interesting. You have me today, tomorrow, and as time passes, I'm not easy to store, but I don't take up space. What am I? Google. Steph says she Googled it. Oh my goodness. All right. So I'm so then we will show the answer to that one. And there you go. So the answer is memories. There we go. Steph was right. Fast acting on the Googling and everything else. So, all right. We got a couple of more things, and I got just one more thing to kind of open your mind, and we're going to get deep into some great conversations in just a few minutes, and from there. And I'm just really, so what we're going to do is post this one right here. So why the big secret, our study says, and so this is the last of the last, but I definitely think it's going to be great for you to kind of get involved with that one. So take a look at the question. Ross said space, memories, makes sense. All right. So I know somebody said Stephanie cheating. Elso said you are cheating, Steph. You are cheating. Aha. Mm-hmm. All right. So according to the new study, 70% of people say that we find it impossible to fall asleep when this happens. You got three choices. If there's a spider in the room, if there's a thunderstorm, or there is a strange noise outside. Which would it be for you? And once again, if you're in Clubhouse, if you want to participate, put your text in there. And so we're live on YouTube. And when I tell you we got some good UFO stuff tonight that we're going to be doing, but this just kind of gives us, so A. All right. So let's do that. So we have A. Someone has said noise outside. Whatever you say. Elso said A. Okay, spiders. So you're saying that it's impossible to get some sleep. Definitely spiders. I don't know. I mean, what kind of spider? Like a tarantula or, well, I don't know. If you've seen, so y'all saying if you see a spider up in the corner, you're not going to get any sleep? Someone else says strange noise. I don't know. So I think I would probably, I don't, all right, B, but for me, it could be C. So they're saying thunderstorm, but a strange noise. Any spider. Nicole says any damn spider. It don't matter. All right, so you can kill a spider, but when they go and check outside. But who's got? And you know what, Ramona, that's going to be our segue in a minute into our main story, because the Bigfoot story that we're going to be covering in a minute was somebody heard some strange noise outside. So we'll talk about it. But I mean, if it's a small spider, you can be scared if it crawls into your ear. If it's a big spider, it could bite. All right, so I'm going to give y'all the answer to that. And all right, so there you go. The answer is 70% said spider in the room. And that is the deal. So I think it's pretty cool to be thinking about that. So, all right, so we get ready to get into it. We got a good show for you tonight. I just wanted to, get the mind opening, and we got a lot of other things that we'll get to open your mind up. But coming up next now, we're going to get into our Twitter updates. And I found something that's going to blow you away. I'm going to give you statistics of what is happening. Like I said, we tracking everything. And then something big hit that it was just too much, and I just couldn't really talk about it tonight, but we're going to talk about it tomorrow, that we located on Twitter. So we're going to go over old news, which I think is really cool, finding some of the old stories and newspaper prints, and then some of those things I'm going to be placing inside of our Truth Seeker. If you want to collect some of these, the full paper front pages, and see some of the old news, because I think it's really important to see how it connects us today and what we're doing from there. So let's get into what I call it, what we're going to be talking about on this Twitter. And I'm going to show you. As always, we kind of get into our system so you can kind of see what is trending on Twitter. And I like to kind of go into that. Today, I was tracking what I call the top influencers on Twitter. And I do this every day. And I track everything in our system. And when I track the top influencers, this allows me to see what they're posting, what the conversation, because they're are really followed by so many people, and you can kind of dictate. And I can track conversations back from a year, 6 months, 3 months, but I usually track every day, so that if I see a trend that's happening, then I can get on it. And then, of course, what that means for us each night, we are on top of it. And I'm going to share something with you that came out a while ago, and I think it's pretty much. So let me do a screen share so that you can kind of see where we are today with some of this tracking. And I'll bring it up in the feed here and let you kind of go from there. So there you go. So let me remove the lower thirds here so that we can turn it off. All right, so at this point, I'm tracking the influences, and this is about 30 days ago. So quite naturally, in the last few weeks, Billy Carson's Black Knight Satellite, and a lot of that has really been trending, and these are just some of the top stories. But as of today, I started tracking what was going on. And first, I ended up looking at the metrics of what's happening, and so let me kind of show you the key metrics and what's going on there. So in the last day or so, which from yesterday, when I showed you guys yesterday, conversations are, today, are up about 74%, and that's high. So that means something is really happening as far as that. And this is just through the influencers, meaning they are talking. Yesterday I showed you a global, but somehow in this last few hours around 3, which was about 4 o'clock, which I'll show you what came up today, which showed that there was some really stuff happening, and we can kind of go into it from here as we check. And right there on the top, as you can see, John Greenwald posted something. And as you can see all over the place, look at how I'm scrolling. It is the top conversation. Now look at the sentiments. Over to the right, meaning people are portraying this information is negative. They don't like what he posted. And we track all that through the AI that we use through our systems and stuff. But then I got this going. What the hell did he post that is causing so much of stir? And I went to it and found out, and I think it is so bombshell what he posted. And let me just show you who the top influencers are right now in these conversations. Right now is Joe. And, you might know Joe here, and he's the UFO Joe. And he posted about 82 things. This is today. This guy's moving. Here's John Greenwald. They show you all the top people that are, Richard Dolan, Jeremy Corbell, Danny Silver. This is today. So that means something was trending. The top people were spreading it. And this is how I can keep up on it and now share with you. What do y'all think about this? You know, of post in the comments if you like some of the things that you're seeing. And now we're going to get into what that was he posted, which I think is well worth part of this conversation that we should have. So let me kind of get us out of this and turn that off for a minute here, and then we'll get into those conversations. So what do y'all think about seeing that information? But I'm going to reveal to you what that conversation was from there, and I think that's something that we can see. Once again, if you're in Clubhouse, definitely come up, check us out. YouTube, you can hit the button at the top, and it'll bring you up into the conversation, and you can definitely join us here. But for the truth seekers and people watching, you know, let me give you that information of what's happening, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, so what happened was John Greenwald did a FOIA act, and he released this particular document, which I can kind of show you. You know, I did download it. Let me see if I can bring it up on my page. Well, I can bring it up here, but I want to see if I can just bring it up for you completely, and then you can kind of really see what this thing is. Let me, if I can get the window to move this over here, and we can do that. So I'm having trouble doing that, but either way, I'll just show you on the screenshot what it was. Basically, he released this complaint that Lou Elizondo filed with the government, okay? And we talked about in the past, was ATIP real, or did he actually head it up? And I stand corrected. This actual document is Lou Elizondo posting, and he's talking about how they're coming after him, the government. And he filed a complaint to DOD, and he wanted them to investigate it. But he put a true timeline of everything. When I tell you this shit is like made for TV, where they, going after this dude, trying to smear campaigns, fake news that they was putting out about him, and all the people, how they wouldn't believe. And then he was talking about, you guys got to read this thing, right? I read it today and I couldn't stop, and I was like, we're going to talk about it tomorrow in its entirety, okay? I'm going to break it down the best that I can. It's made for TV. I'm not lying for you. This thing, it talks about how Lou Elizondo was saying that they did have two separate programs. They did initially make the ATIP the cover story of the real program, and how they was trying to raise money, and how different government, even talked about government officials due to religion. Some of them decided to kill the program because they didn't believe. See how I tell y'all about the cultural lens? This is how freaking powerful the cultural lens plays in this phenomena, because what happens is, based on how you see this, is how you're going to react to it. And if we got government officials who their religion, and I'm not against it, don't allow them to, look into the phenomena so that we can be protected or see what's going on. I don't know if that's a threat or not a threat, if that's a unstable situation. What do y'all think? And I'm saying, let's not take it into the religious side of it, but he reported, it's in this thing, that there are some government officials. I'm going to show y'all some of this real quick, but there's government officials who could not adapt to what was happening because of their religion. And I just thought that was like, seriously? And this thing covers, and they break it down, and he goes through the timeline of every part of this thing from 2012 on up. Even they were still messing around with this in 2021, and they was going out to his security clearance. They was going out to all of the stuff. And I think that is one of the things that we're going to go over this tomorrow. So, and he was talking about the frustration and everything else. And something else Lou Elizondo said in this complaint, he talked about one of the officials that he had to kind of he was like saying, hey, thank you for being a part. So basically, in so many words though, he stepped down because he was getting railroaded and couldn't get anything done. So he wanted to give it over to somebody with power who essentially could continue because they are more powerful than he was. And people back and forth, they was getting away from this thing. And he even talked about a photo that never seen before, authentic, of one of the astronauts on the moon, okay, with a note behind it, as though there was some sick man. This thing was so, like I said, we need to make a movie out of this. We probably can talk about this like for 5 days straight, just breaking it down. And I think we should. If I can get you truth seekers to download that thing, go to John Greenwald's Twitter feed, and he has a link. You can download it, read it. Man, yeah, they did Luke dirty. I mean, they messed this dude up completely. And oh man, just to see how it's like we see this in movies and it actually was happening, and he goes through every part of what they was doing to him, who did it. Now they redacted a lot of names out on this thing, but they was talking about who did this and who, blocked this and how it was detrimental to its family and they put someone else in the middle of the foyer stuff, which that is not supposed to happen because that's for us, the people. And she was reporting different things. And now I understand why they went to Leslie King and arrested him to break that story. So now I get it. He was doing that to because they was covering it up. They was going to not release none of the information, and so he did it. So he was one of the ones that submitted to get those Navy videos released. So he is the person behind it. So we can thank him for that. It's in here. You'll see all the reports, the actual documents, and everything else. And so Ashita said, I remember hearing Lou say that in some show that he said the government officials said that these phenomena are working as Satan or something. Yeah. And so what do y'all think about that? That's something we can talk about real quick before we get into some of our main stories tonight. How do you feel about that we got people that's in power to put things in place to protect us as a collective, and their own religion won't allow them to just be objective, to just say, okay, I don't believe it, but because of national security and the rest of us, let me just go check it out. But these people are shutting it down, and they're in power. And this is recently, within a few years ago, that out of all that's out there, they still don't believe that UFOs was real. And then he reported that there was a incident which now I get where this threat narrative is coming from, because he reported that there was a provocative show from an extraterrestrial that came within feet of one of our aircraft, and it was provocative, meaning it's like, hey, here we go. And so why not us then think, wait a minute, what if something is imminent? So that goes right back to the Discovery Plus movie that I'm in. I'm not just harping it, but I'm letting you know I'm in this movie called Alien Endgame, and the narrative of the entire show is encounters of military personnel that was ordered to fire up on UFOs, and some lost their lives and some didn't. And Nick Pope and a lot of people, Michikaku is in this movie, a lot of Jeremy McGowan from UAPX. I'm in it as one of the hosts, the three hosts, as the UFO investigator. Melissa Tittle is the investigative reporter. And in that documentary, we show some military encounter. I interviewed Jeffrey Torres Jr., and his father was ordered to fire up on a UFO, and this was a terrifying moment for him. And this is back in the 50s, okay? So this has been going on a long time. So they know that something was out there, but then the religious mask of it. And like I said, I'm not talking about anybody's religion, so don't point fingers. I'm not saying I don't even know what your religion is. But I'm saying if you are in power and your religion dictates that something that needs to be looked into is not what it seems to be, would you vote against it just because of religion and not doing your freaking job to protect us? I'm sorry. That makes me a little upset. I'm sorry. It really does. Because do your job. Don't forget all this other stuff. Do your job. We need to remove, because that means they are a threat to the security of what we're doing. Those people who were talking in that manner, and they're in a position of power to protect the people, the global society as it is. And you can't even make a decision and put that to a side to say, at least let's check it out and then we'll come back at it. Man, I don't know. What do y'all think? Maybe I'm just on a soapbox and I'm going to get ridiculed for this. Yeah, Nicole says religion was used to control the masses. But in this case, the religion from this person was used to not protect the masses. See, let's look at that in reverse. You know, yeah, I'm with you. They need to be removed from that office, not because of their religion, because they cannot perform the duty of the protection that's in that thing of us as a sovereignty of a nation. They can't protect us with that type of lens. That's not going to happen. Imagine if we needed to go to war with someone and they feel that is an unjust war and don't pull a trigger and the other adversaries move first. Man, that's some scary stuff. I'm telling you now. And I know I don't know. So I hope I don't stand alone on this one. But there should be a separation of church and the state in the U.S. Put religion aside. Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. There should be a separation. It's in the document. When you read it, it's going to blow you away. I was floored that they were killing the ATIP program because of religion. The people that was funding it said, no, we're not going to do it. My religion. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So he reports it. It's in the investigation. It's live. Y'all better see it. And see, that's why I tell y'all, when you hear all these people, when they would come up in the rooms, when I talk about the threat narrative or all of these things, and we can't get past the truisms, if that's a word, of what is really truly happening based upon how we emotionally and not logically looking at things. So we got things flying around with super speed power, cutting off our nuclear weapons, doing all, okay, yeah, they have not attacked, but we're not in a position to at least investigate or protect ourselves. Like, you have insurance just in case. I mean, that's some weird stuff. It's some weird stuff, okay? And I'm just saying to everybody, it's some weird stuff. And if you don't pay attention to this, I don't know what to say. I don't think it says. So, all right, we're going to get into that was what's happening on Twitter. We're going to get into old news, a couple of things, and then we'll move into our Bigfoot story for tonight. And, so hopefully I just didn't open up the can of worms, but maybe I did. But I think at the end of the day, it's just something that we need to look at. So, this segment of old news is something I thought about, and it's just looking at some of the top stories of yesterday to better understand today. And it will help some of you understand that this phenomena has been going on for quite some time, and there's all sorts of remnants in the past in papers and headlines, Air Force and Marine, the Navy and CIA. All of these people were investigating, but then today when we hear these stories, we're told, no, they're not doing it. This is not happening. Oh, we now need to look into it. But yet when you go back to the 1930s and 50s and headlines, and you got to remember, the internet wasn't there then. We didn't have the internet and all that we have today that pushes media and things so quickly, okay? We didn't have those things. And so now when you look at back then, it's more concrete word of mouth, how stories are passed along and everything else. And so I want you to take a look at one of the old news stories that popped up that I was looking at. And this is, it was saying that looking for UFOs was real serious business. Now, this particular story was in the Knoxville Journal back in April of 1956. And they were talking about UFOs and how many of them was being shown, and this is in the beginning. So ufology had just came up, and the ufologist term was just coming up. So people really, it wasn't something that people knew about, and it just takes us back in history. Now I like the photo because I'm a ufologist, I'm a UFO investigator. So looking at the dude, he's in a suit. Now I don't investigate in no damn suit, and this guy does or did. So I like the implications of how serious it is, and I think the book is staged, and I think it's just one of those things. And I appreciate you, C-Tex, for saying, I'm not wrong. I can't be, I shouldn't be criticized for that, because some people are going to say it, one of those deals. But at the end of the day, suits is not required. Yeah. But look at that. Now, I know it's a stage photo, pretty cool, because you see the Mars book over to the right is turned this way. So obviously he's not looking at it. So just kudos to the photographer saying, hey, can you turn that book around so we can kind of see that you're exploring Mars? I just think it's cool. This is 1956. I'm not even born yet. But yet just to see the seriousness of it. And this, I have a full article of this. If you guys want it, I'll post it into the Truth Seekers place and as a post, and you can download it, keep these things. I'm actually collecting hundreds of them, and I'm going to put these little dollar store photos for, not photos, but the dollar store, frames at the dollar store. And I'm going to, eventually just put them on my wall, all of these old newspaper headings, and I have 200 now, and started out with 30 yesterday. I got 200 of them. So I just think it'll be pretty cool to walk. And I don't have a house yet, but when I do, it'll go all the way down a hallway, and you're just going to walk through time and then bring you into current stories, and then pop up right there with me and my extraterrestrial behind me and saying, hey, we cool, right? So those are one of the things. So that's the old news. So this helped our younger generation, the fellas, the sisters, everybody in that 35, 45 ranges. That's you, and of course you grown ass people. You're a full grown adult right now. I'm not saying young people. I'm saying it'll bridge the gap of what we hear today and what is going on with the stories from there. And so we almost at our main story. We'll do that in about 13 minutes. I got a couple more things to say and just pretty much and just try to move us along the conversation line of what we're doing here. And so we're definitely going to be doing that. So in the meantime, I've been really focusing on watching something every day so that I can educate. And it goes with the tagline that you see I use when I say your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. And so some of these things I want to do is what I call these, and you should watch them, is what I call a mind opener movie suggestion or something, something that's just going to open your mind. Now, I am pulling from the archives of GAIA, since I am a GAIA brand ambassador and I have access to their stuff, but I didn't know they had so much good stuff there. They really do. And it's just been really uplifting to read them. But I'm watching this whole thing with Richard Dolan, and these things are like 13 or 15 minutes, but he hits so hard and he gets right into the stuff. So I'm going to discuss with you one of the ones that I was just recently looking at, which I thought was pretty cool. And I talked about it yesterday, but this is a new one. And it's just kind of like he did these things and what we're dealing with today. So it's the year of UFO secrecy almost ended. And it's a real compelling story when you think about what he was talking about. And I thought it was pretty interesting when he went into this particular story, and he was talking about the year 1952. We talked about some of that yesterday. And you see, like, I've been pulling articles for the 1950s, and it's not something I was doing because of him. I was just doing it, and it started to work on that. Yes, I will put that on a T-shirt. You see, we got our hats. I will be offering some of these pretty soon, the Why the Big Secret hats and shirts and logos to support the channel. Actually, we have a link of a company that's already I just haven't put it up for y'all, where if you want to do that. And everything will support what we're doing here, because, I was hoping to get more truth seekers, but I know over time we will. And, so you guys can get into the conversations and what we're doing, so we can build one of the most prolific communities of all time, because we are looking for the secret. We're trying to find out what the big secret keepers are doing. But in this particular film, and what he was talking about was 1952. In 1952, there were so many darn UFO sightings And remember, at this time, we didn't have the internet, and so when they had 1,500 sightings coming up that time, that's a lot. And of course, we get thousands today because we got internet pictures and all these organizations you can report to. Of course, I'm a UFO investigator for MUFON, and so you're going to get all of that. But in this thing, he was talking about how in 1952 that there were so many reports coming out. JJ said, how do you become a truth seeker? Man, I'm going to pause to answer that. Boom, right there. So basically, you could go to that, and that is Buy Me a Coffee, Big Secret, / Big Secret. Or if you're in the YouTube, you can click, there's a link in the video's description, and it'll bring you over there. And there's two things. You can buy a cup of coffee, which meaning you can say, okay, $5, I'll buy you 5 cups. That's for like immediate donation. Or you can sign up for the Truth Seeker, and you flip the little button, and it'll say membership, and do the $5 memberships, like $16, 16 cents a day. And when you do that, I'm going to add you to the list. Now, Nicole, if you can help me out, can you just share in the chat what you see on that email that you guys are getting report every morning? This is where I'm pulling some of the articles, and and I did turn it off for y'all to get the one at 7:30 because I didn't want to overload you, because you'll get tons of stuff, but it does cover things that just came out. The one you get in the morning covers things that came out last night and yesterday, and then the one in the evenings is new news that pops up throughout the day. And so I want to keep y'all current from there. But yeah, JJ, join us. Yes, you can. And Nicole, you get those emails a little bit every day. Do you find those? It's a lot of stuff, because we're trolling, and this AI is tracking everything. And I even begin to send y'all the news reports. In other words, if they say something on the radio, if they say something on a news station, in that link you'll get it, and you can hear the radio report, the transcriptions, and all of that. I mean, we're a bona fide here where we're monitoring everything, okay? And that's how we're going to do it from there. So anyway, yeah, JJ, join us. But anyway, so he talks about in 1952 that there were so many reportings that the Air Force at this point was they did one of the largest press conference of all time. And in this press conference was to kind of not just debunk it, but to kill the rumor, again, that the CIA were investigating this, because if people got out that the CIA, out of all people, is now investigating UFOs or flying saucers at the time, then they're going to say, well, this must be very serious. It's got to be serious. The CIA is investigating. So they wanted to kill that sentiment as quickly as possible, and they almost was going to go ahead and just tell people that UFOs were real. And they had all these reports, and they went through all the top-ranked people, and then the president at that time, he was like, no, hold on a minute, we got to figure something out, because this is national security. And then they talked about, even back then, how the agencies like the government, the Navy, the Air Force, there was so much pride. So what was happening, the Navy people were seeing so much UFO activity that they were reporting it. And so by them reporting it, then quite naturally, it has to, I have to leave coming on the 29th. I will join then. No problem, JJ. I appreciate you, man. And I'll put you on our list between each show, thanking you, because I think it's important becoming a true seeker. So the Navy were reporting so much activity, and quite naturally it's in the sky. So the way our government was set up at this point, as Richard was saying, is that they will come in and bring the Air Force to investigate what the Navy saw in the sky. So at this point, the Navy probably didn't have a lot of aircraft yet, which they do. So, but it was so much animosity between the two groups, and the Navy was more headstrong, and the Air Force would look at it knowing what they was investigating, but they wouldn't tell the Navy what they found, because it was like a lot of arrogance in our ranks and files of that. So that started probably, this is why we had the separation we have today, that all these organizations, and remember I would describe this story that I would share with you all about it. If you think about in California, And most of our UFOs come up out of the water and then they wind up in the air. So if something comes out of the water, most likely who's going to see it? The Coast Guard and the Navy. So they're going to report this UFO, okay? Now, you got to remember this thing has instantaneous acceleration, meaning it can go from one spot to another within milliseconds at 3,500 miles per hour in G-forces. So when it comes up, the Navy sees it. Now it's in the sky. Who is tracking it? The Air Force, okay? Now this thing flies and outruns the Air Force because it has the speed to do so. But then, say hypothetically, it lands somewhere like the Betty and Barney Hill story and abducts someone. Now you got the Army involved because it's on the ground, it's internal within the U.S., and the Army is investigating this. And where I'm going with this, all these agencies would do their own reporting on an incident, and possibly they all could be reporting on the same one, but because they did not merge the data, and they didn't share it, and everybody had their own secrecy in black ops program and reverse engineering program, and it's all our armed forces supposed to be working as one, but they don't do that. And then when you think about the presidency being what we consider temporary, so the presidents didn't really know. So all this stuff is protected by our armed forces and the generals who's been at 30 years. Is it until now? Is what you're seeing in Congress is they're saying we need in one official place so that all of this stuff can be aggregated into one place. And now we won't be talking about some anomaly that was the same one everybody's reporting on. And so back to that old news and what Richard Dolan is talking about, it indicates that this has been a problem for 50, 60, 70 years. And it ain't got nothing to do with us. It's the agencies hiding from the agencies and the agencies, and everybody wants to be on top because they all have this camaraderie. It's like a fraternity, right? Long live the Alpha, or long live the Omegas, or whatever, and long live the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Army. They all are like, now I get it why they tell jokes about each other, right? And so all of those things, and that was happening, and this is why when he said that the UFO secrecy almost gave up, because they was about to blow the whistle and say, hey, this is happening, we don't know what's going on. And then ultimately it led to the biggest secrets of many that today, and they're still doing it 70, 80 years later, which is outliving people, man. This thing has been around a very long time. All right, so we almost at the top of the hour. So if you want to watch some of that show, let me play our little commercial real quick for GAIA. GAIA is running a program which is called a UFO Summit right now. It lasts up to June 25th, and you can get a subscription to GAIA. And I should be kind of showing you all the things that come with it, but they have a full, what they call a 4-episode series that they produce called Beyond Disclosure. And man, it's powerful, and you can look at the first one absolutely free if you go down to the link of the YouTube channel, and you end up hitting that free link. But then if you want a subscription, if to all the 8,000 things, and guys, not just about UFOs, it's yoga, meditation, consciousness, and that's really what they initially started out, and then they start moving into this UFO era. So that's something there that is just pretty much from there. And so I'll play it, and then you can check it out from here.
UFO disclosure. The hypothetical event that the government will finally reveal what the UFO phenomenon is. However, history clearly tells us that with any major movement, real change begins with the people. The recent government disclosures are only one side of the story. When we decide to come together as one, share all of the evidence, and begin a coalition, we will finally get the disclosure we've been looking for. In this mini-series, we will uncover what the government has not disclosed, what the best theories are by leading UFO experts, and what the future of disclosure will look like. But what might be even more incredible is the answer may have been hiding within us all along.
That's going to be nice. That is a new series that's on GAIA. And right now, for $99, you can get a full year subscription. And you'll get access to that series. You're going to get like some ebooks, some training, a whole bunch of other stuff. I should brought it up, and I didn't bring it up today. But, man, like a $200, there's some stuff that Richard Dolan is doing, like all of his UAP list and maps or something. It's like real powerful, something with Linda Moulton Howe. There's some great stuff, and it comes with that. I'm a brand ambassador for GAIA, so that is something that'll support us as well. If you so choose, just use the link in the description below in the YouTube channel, and it'll take you over. But if you want to watch the first one, absolutely free. There's 2 links there. Both lead to you joining if you'd like, but one will allow you to see the actual first episode of that disclosure that they're doing, the 4-part series. But, also if you want to get access to some of the other stuff. And so I find there's a lot of things there that is pretty cool from there, and it's something that's worth it from there. So, all right. So again, I want to welcome each and every one of you. Super chats are available. If I'm doing any good, or if you find value out today and you want to do a sticker or a chat, then I appreciate it. That would be good. If you find value in what we're doing. This Friday, we're going to do Freaky Friday, and I'm going to try to get some guests, and we're going to go really deep in something. And if you plan on being around Friday night and you say, well, you know what, I was going to go to the movies, but instead I'm going to watch you, then you can definitely super chat whatever you was going to spend at the movies. If it's entertaining, I entertain you, and do that, just looking for that support of what we do. So anyway, we're going to get to our main stories in a minute. But before I do that, nope, you haven't missed the Bigfoot discussion. It starts in about 3 minutes. We're getting ready. That's our main story. But I'm going to show you a little bit of in Billy Carson's Black Knight Satellite. I'll show you a good clip of that in where I'm in that story just a little bit. You can kind of check it out. Let's go with that right now.
A lot of people have this psychological tie to the Epsilon Boreas constellation. It's been talked about since ancient times. It's been talked about again now in modern times. There have been experiencers who have also brought this name up, Epsilon Boreas. Do you think there could be some type of a telepathic link, or maybe even the Black Knight, transmitting information directly into people's minds about Epsilon Boreas? Like, why is this coming up so many times?
I can't really speculate there, but I will say this. When I started reading some of the case files within MUFON, because I did find a lot of associations with the constellation, I was like, okay, wait a minute, this is maybe not a coincidence. I really think it is, especially where we are today with what is happening, and with all the technology that we have, we at least can get to some deeper answers.
And so I'm wondering if a super advanced race of beings, maybe 1 million years more advanced than humans, from another galaxy, maybe from another star system, could transmit commands to people and transmit information. And that person could be thinking that they're hearing God, quote unquote, or, connecting with other beings in far places and being told information. Because we know that everybody's mind operates a little bit differently, and maybe some more minds are more receptive, obviously, than others. So it's pretty interesting that you found those cases.
So I would think we could probably come to some conclusions or theory or hypothesis that somebody is watching us, someone is observing us, someone is checking out our weakness and strengths and points. Why wouldn't they? And at the end of the day, we should at least know who it is, what it is, and why this is happening. And again, what you're doing here, I think is probably one of the best things ever, because NASA's not going to do it.
I look like some alien. That screen is stretched like it's supposed to be made for Instagram, and it's stretched like this, so the muscle is really long in this one. And I look like some alien, didn't I? I know. But anyway, that you should check that out. I think there's a link in the bottom of that as well when it comes down to the Forbidden Knowledge TV. Man, I think that's one of the most powerful ones that is pretty cool when it comes down to it from there. And so, all right, so we're going to get into our main topic, okay? And I've been waiting all night to kind of discuss this one, and reason for that, I just think it's one of the most powerful things that you want to truly look at. And where did I do with my story or what I got? But anyway, so, here we go. So what if, one of the things that I will tell you that if you were sitting at home watching TV, okay, you're sitting at home, you're watching TV, and of course you're staying out in the woods, and you hear something, throwing something at your windows, like trying to get your attention when we were teens, when a person's trying to whisper, hey, come out, blah, blah, blah. And you hearing this happening, and you're sitting there watching TV, now it's snow, you're out in the woods, but you realize that you're 40-something years old, and you realize you married, so it ain't no booty call, it ain't somebody trying to hook up out there. What do you do when you come back the next day? You do get scared because it's really throwing some big rocks. And you're like, what is really happening? Now, of course, you can be like my cousin Vinny, the movie where he walks out on the porch, shooting at the owl, right? If you ever seen that, that was one of my favorite shows. But what do you do? Well, in this story we're going to talk about is a Bigfoot tracks that was found outside this man's place after he had heard all of this. And now they even think it's Unhuman or if it's a Bigfoot. So before we get started, what do y'all think about Bigfoot? I saw in the chat that there was a few people that were talking in the chat that they seen Bigfoots or anything else, pretty much from there. What Nicole said, not the booty call hiding outside. Hey, I know it's cold out there. But what do y'all think? What do y'all think, about the Bigfoot phenomena, period? Somebody said, which string pulls, Roderick? I guarantee one of these strings do. LOI. But, okay, so what, LOL, I'm sorry. So what do y'all think first? Post in the chat about your sentiment toward the Bigfoot phenomena anyway. What do y'all think about it? Because do you think it's real? Do you think it's a hoax? We still get the same grainy photos, but we still get people, and we're going to get into the story. I got some photos for you, but what do y'all think about the Bigfoot phenomenon, period? Billy Carson and Roderick pulling in. I'm curious about Bigfoot, Nicole says. Anyone else got a story or y'all seen Bigfoot or you've heard about this? Because I just want to set a foundation, just like we do with UFOs. Are UFOs real? What do you think about Bigfoot? And, and there's a lot of people who investigate Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the Yeti, all the different names that are given. I used to watch, JJ says yet another life form. Now, do you think Bigfoot is an intelligent life form? I always think they're pets to the extraterrestrials because all the stories that we hear is that people smell this, the stench when they're out there. And there's always this light story when it disappears and the tracks just disappear. So I think the Bigfoots may be pets like we have dogs, right? And you know how you let your dog out to go use the restroom and then it just comes back into the house when it's done. And imagine if this was nighttime and it was complete dark, you let the dog out. So somebody's going to see a light, right? Like if it was in the hull of a ship, the dog goes out, the light goes away, the dog does his business, it's stinky. And then as it comes back, the light, you see it again, but you think the Bigfoot disappeared, but, from there. But what do y'all think? Some say I know exactly what Bigfoot is, and it's not paranormal. Well, don't hold back, Yewu, how we pronounce that? Yewu. But don't hold back. What do you think? What do you think Bigfoot is? And anyone else in the chat, what are y'all conversation? Let me look into Clubhouse. Someone said you can ask Brother Barry Littleton about Bigfoot. Okay, I'll reach out to him. Nicole says, in an interview I watched, an investigator was studying a family of them, and he said they are interdimensional beings. Well, I mean, it's Bigfoot. They fairy and all that stuff. And we still got, pictures of these things today. So I'll kind of bring up, I think I got a photo of one that caught my attention that they was using. Oh, snap. I don't have my other Bigfoot photo. Well, I can Google and screen share. But one of the things that in this story I'll show in a minute, though. So this guy, at his house, again, and this is the story. So let's just get into it from there until I see some things in chat here. Bigfoot are simply hybrid relic hominoids. Man, it's just so many names here. Wow. We forget how many hominoids lives with us. All right, why are they so elusive then? Why are something that big? Shouldn't a radar, we can just put out infrareds or cameras out in the woods? We can track a bear. We can track a moose. We can track, buffaloes. We can track wolf packs. And how come we can't track a Bigfoot? Why can we can't spot these things, from above, or satellite systems? We got stuff that can see what this pen says from in space. They can see the words of this thing in space, but we can't track and find a Bigfoot. I'm interested in it. What do y'all think? Why can't we find a Bigfoot? And why is it so elusive? And this is what I said. Bigfoot, original hominoid, inky, manipulated, enlil, control, So, all right, we go back to those stories. Certain agencies can and have tracked them. Well, we need the information. If you're part of the truth seekers, we don't need speculations and all of that. Put it out there. What agencies? Let us know. Because if you're part of the Klan, we're here to seek the truth, right? Everyone, put in that chat. Tell Dalat Zazali to give us the agencies. Hey man, you part of the team, bro. Let's do it. So this guy is sitting watching TV is what the story. And I'm going to show you something that tripped me out. And so when he heard all of this, he said he was afraid. He went upstairs. He was like, what was going on? Because he thought he was under attack. Whatever it was throwing rocks at this dude. So he says the Bureau of Land Management, for one. That makes sense. Because when we was doing our film in Vegas, they sure came out on us, man, when we was doing that Discovery film, because we was out on their land. They was like, what y'all doing? And we was talking about some stuff, but I believe they didn't want to see them bodies buried by the mafia or something out there in the desert. You know how that old story and stuff. But so he said that when he heard this thing, and you can pull this up, it's in the article, and everybody in Truth Seekers, you should have gotten this, because I did send you the paranormal category. So if you scroll through, this came out 4 hours ago. So you wouldn't have saw this. It's in the UK, but it'll come out tomorrow because the US is 8 hours behind that. So you will see it tomorrow in the Truth Seekers when you get your reports. But so he was like, man, I had to go upstairs. I went out from that. So what would y'all do if you sitting outside right now and something is hitting your windows and it reminds you of that? But then he said these rocks was getting bigger and bigger. And then lo and behold, the next day, because you remember, I gave you a hint. It was snow and ice in this mountains where he lived, which meant that there was tracks left. And I got photos to show you something that's going to blow you away and make you wonder, was it human? Was it even a Bigfoot? Could it have been an alien? Because one of the things that's showing in this photo, I'm like, wow. And so we're going to look at that in just a second or two here. So what do y'all think when it comes down to what would you do if something like that happened? And so how about he shows himself with all channels tonight, and I don't know anything if I'm clueless. We will see. Inky lives. Well, we got the stories behind it. So is everybody there? Everybody following along with the format? So what we're doing, what do y'all think about this format, or how, presenting the information to you? If there's any improvements or things we could do different outside of that, give me some kudos, because I try to work really hard making sure I keep our stories moving and stuff that we're doing moving pretty quick. And they're saying they can move between dimensions. So here's the deal. Let me show you one of the things that popped up really quick here. So look at this. When he went back outside, this is what he saw. Look at the tracks. Now that's a measuring stick. And if you saw the original photo, those tracks go on and on up there. I just kind of zoomed in for this point to kind of show you. But that footprint, which let me, get you in on that real quick. That's about 12 or 13 inches. Okay, so we know Bigfoot's probably 14 feet. That's bigger, right? 14 inches probably, Bigfoot is standing 8-9 feet tall, so you would think they got some 15, 16-inch bear claws, right? But this is about 12 inches. But what catches me is look the distance between those tracks and the next step up there. And I didn't give you you know what? I'm going to get the article up, and then we'll go into the main. You can see the actual photos from a distance, okay? But look at the tracks and the distance between. That's about 5 or 6 feet, stride, okay? And I don't think that's no Bigfoot. I think that was an extraterrestrial or something. But if you look at those things, but again, if you hopping in on Clubhouse, welcome. We're live on YouTube. Come over, hit the link, pin link up in Clubhouse, and pop on over. Make sure y'all smash that like button because we need the YouTube algorithm to know where we are. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat here on YouTube. What do y'all think there? Yeah, there's some big steps. So I'm gonna try to pull up the. Looked like it was leaping. Okay, well, let me show you. It either was leaping like crazy. So I'm going to go into our system, and let me bring up a screenshot first, and so y'all can kind of see what I'm looking at over here. So let me remove the source. Yeah, it could have been a tall gray. I'm with you on that because I'm thinking it has to be something that is tremendously large. All right, so let me give y'all, here's the deal, inside look of what the truth seekers get every day. So you can kind of see, here's our technology, and let me bring it, let me take the picture overlay here off here. All right, so here's the deal. So when I go into our system, I'm tracking all the different news sources, okay? This goes to our truth seekers. And like I say, and what I do, I track all these different things from UFO sightings, all keyword based. This goes out through the whole media all over the world. So when I looked over here into our paranormal, I can go into which covers stories, what's happening, and I like to kind of look up things, and you're talking thousands of stuff, but this is hours and hours ago. Boom. Now you see this was 8 hours ago right here, but it was 4 hours when it showed up. Now the sentiment of this is negative. A lot of people don't like that. But then again, it was in the UK news. Then it's picked up in the Daily Star. Then that tells me tomorrow, because they're 8 hours ahead of us, you're going to see it all over the U.S. papers. I promise you. But being truth seekers, you get to see this first. We get the first dibs on it and everything else. So I'm going to take us over into the particular article itself so you can kind of see. Okay, so that was one of the tracks there in the deeper snow, okay? You can check that out. But what's interesting, now you see the picture in a little detail. Do you see the footprints are steady going? Let me close that window. The footprints are steady going up. No, man, if this add window do not close itself out. There we go. So as you can see, the footprints are going further and further apart up there. So I don't know. I think it may be, like y'all said, it could be some alien. What do y'all think? Let me look in the chat rooms here. I was a soldier on Wayne Foot. Fish and Game told me they're known as wild men and they won't hurt you if you leave them alone. Who? Bigfoots as wild men? So what do y'all think about the photo? Give me some feedback right there. It's on the screen. And look the distance. That's probably about 5, 6, 7 feet. Now, the first foot is about 12. So I will say that is a 6, 7 foot, stride. Okay. That is big. Someone else said they heard things are peaceful. What are y'all talking about? Wild man? What's the difference? Wild man is not a Bigfoot or just another part of that. So those are one of the things there. So anyway, that was one of the stuff that, I was sitting here like, that is pretty interesting when it comes down to the story. All right. And so, I don't know. I just don't know when you start thinking about these things as what's happening today. Isn't it just weird that we have so many things going on? We got Bigfoots, we got Yetis, we got aliens, extraterrestrials, and, Antarctica, people living inside the earth, and tree people, fairies, and, people marrying spirits and ghosts. And, it's just the list just goes on and on and on and on. And, me starting out being a UFO investigator, that was the beginning of things, just doing that, being a UFO investigator. But then all of a sudden, you go back into all of this stuff that's happening, and the challenge changes instantly. Instantly, the issues change. And again, please hit that like button. Let's get these likes up. If you haven't had an opportunity, hit the like button on the video, like it, so we can get it on up there pretty much. And definitely appreciate everybody participating there. I'm not going to keep you too much long tonight, basically, because I want to prepare for what we're going to be talking about, that Lou Elizondo thing tomorrow when that gets down, because, man, that document, like I said, was so powerful. But let's go back to Bigfoots. We have anybody seen one or heard of a family member seeing one? Let's start there first before I go into some of the closing arguments about these Bigfoots. And let me know if you're still with me, especially some of our regulars. Hit me in the chat. Let me know y'all still watching, still got your attention and all of that stuff. I know Nicole is here. What about some of my people in the beginning? Y'all still here? Let me know so we can see how we're doing with what we're doing. So before I go into that closing part about Bigfoot, have anybody seen one? All right. Justin said, I hit that like button because it brings more people to the conversation. It does. So please hit the like button on the YouTube, because it really does. KG is here. Appreciate it, man. Steele is here. That's what I want to see, because I can't see who's watching. It's not Clubhouse where you can see your face down there. And just want to know who I'm talking to. I want to know. JoJo Blue here. All right. That's what I'm saying. Still here. No one I know have seen a Bigfoot. All right. Anybody seen a Bigfoot? Because I need some confirmation. At least if one of y'all one of my trusted people say I've seen a Bigfoot, then I'm least curious. I've never seen one. And I live in Texas, and we hear that there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings. Because I'm still concerned, why can't we just literally put something out here and go find this bad boy? Me too and other soldiers saw one 10 meters away. Okay, tell us about that a little bit. What were y'all doing, and what was you guys' reaction? Freya says she's still here. I appreciate you. Now I'm feeling real good. Y'all are still here. We're here, Roderick. Love you, bro. And never seen one personally, but I know they're real. Yeah, so the gentleman here just said he saw, Dazali said he's seen them, and they was in the military. What did y'all do? Did y'all fire up on this thing? Did y'all chase it, or did y'all was like, whatever, Nicole said, I grew up in Philly, no Bigfoot there. They could have been taking the cheesesteaks, or maybe at that point, Philly cheesesteaks and stuff. I still, and Nicole, one of these days, I need to get you to ship overnight a Philly cheesesteak, a real one, because everybody keep telling me it's like supposed to be the original place. But when I go down here to Arby's, they sell a Philly cheesesteak, and so obviously it's good. I'm thinking that's what they taste like. JJ says man's average stride is approximately 6 feet. These tracks are made by a life form approximately 7 foot in height, and is very muscular to maintain that stride, so what appears to be uphill. That's what I'm talking about, some scientific approach. Because I'm telling you, that when I was looking at that stride, and if you see the angle that stride is like almost, it ain't like out here like we walk. It's like almost in a straight, but it's moving, so it's like one of those movies, that was, and so alone I'll be freaked out. Now the problem is, like the Beverly Hillbillies, will we be packing tomorrow? My ass is gone. I'm packed. I mean, see, this is the difference between certain folks. Some people having this encounter, yeah, they sending pictures, and now you're going to watch TV tomorrow. Okay, yeah, you're going to go out and buy some arsenal, and then you're going to be blamed for shooting Bigfoot. But I'm just packing. I don't even want, there'll be a for sale sign. I call the movies. I'm on the Craigslist, and, Handyman and Son or whatever, and 3 men in a truck. All of them going to be called. We're gone. And I'm gonna put it up for sale for some enthusiasts who want to live in nature with the Bigfoot. Because if I don't say that was a Bigfoot and I can't verify it, but whatever it is, it's unhuman. That we do know, because those not human made. So whatever it is, yeah, we won't be moving to Beverly Hills, but we're gonna be moving somewhere else though. I'm gonna be like the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm gonna be like, showing the truck, and so what you move? Yeah. So I'll be like, out of there. Somebody will be like, well, Roderick, would you move? And my answer is,
you damn right, wise ass.
Yeah, I'm gone. I'm out of there. And of course, I can play my clip, my favorite one, and we can all be sitting here saying to ourselves, what Kirk would say.
Foregone conclusion, none of these people have ever seen an extraterrestrial before.
But the footprints work, Kirk. The footprints work enough for me to be moving on out of there, So I don't know. Would you keep the property? If you shoot one, you may not survive. They're seldom alone. See, that's scary right there. Now, Freya says, I'm from Montana, and everyone there knows the Bigfoot story. Let me put it up on screen here. All right. She says, I'm from Montana. Okay. Everyone knows that there has been a Bigfoot story and a UFO story. Just saying. I've never seen one, but I've seen orbs that phase in and out, and then you hear the sounds, but no sighting. Now, the sounds you were speaking of was probably that Yeti sound. That I don't know what they really sound like. I don't know. Anybody know what a Bigfoot sounds like? But again, I'm showing y'all that picture, and I'll show it to you again, on the screen share. If this is outside my window from my house, and something was throwing rocks at the window or messing with me, and then it runs off, man, do we have some issues. But if it's to a point where the property deal, I can't get no renter, I can't rent it out, I can't sell it, let me tell you something. The hunt is on, okay? I'm going to go call, that dude that played in Ghost in the Darkness, that lion hunter. I'm going to call Crocodile Dundee. I'm going to call, everybody, like that dude says, bring everyone. I'm calling everybody. We're going to hunt this thing down. Okay. And I'm not going to take no prisoners. I don't want to hear it say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you last night. It's going down because I got to get some sleep. We talked earlier about the spider. Right here it'd be worse than anything. Hearing a noise outside and you wake up in the morning. It kind of reminds me of Lou Elizondo. Remember, he talks about the muddy boot print theory, and this is why he says they're a threat. Okay, he talks about the extraterrestrial. If you got your alarm, your house all locked down, the alarm is secure, and you wake up in the morning, you see muddy boot prints that went through your house, but yet everything was secure. Would that terrorize you? So something like this, I'll be serious. And if you married, I'm sure your wife is going to be like, unless you got, your wife is a serious, fisherman or something, or nature, and be like, baby, don't worry about it. It won't harm us. Me and my wife would have to have a conversation. I'm not married, but we would have to have a conversation. She started talking about, baby, it ain't going to harm us. Hell, you ain't the one providing security here. I am. And I ain't sleeping tonight because, I don't know. All right. So, here we go. So Freya says, yes, all I can describe the sounds as something that moves through every molecule of your body. It triggers flight, and flight responds immediately, at least for me. All right, then. There we go. So, and I'm not the only one. Someone else says right here, yes, that would terrorize me. I would have to move on too. I know, and there'll be some people I know, and I'm not going to segment it to wherever you from, but there are going to be some people, man, be like, I ain't moving. I just bought this house. The hell I can sell it to? Or that booger's going to, that should be a clause in the mortgage that you go back and say, you didn't tell me that there's something living out here with a 7-8 foot, step range there, or whatever we want to call it, stride. And it has to be, like JJ says, 7 to 8 feet tall and with muscles because it's going uphill with a, I didn't think about that, JJ. Yes, going uphill with a stride like that got to be a powerful thing. Okay. And that, man, enough. Like I said, that ain't something I want to be dealing with. And so if there's something happens and y'all down with the program, okay, cool. Someone said Google Sierra Sounds. Then you will find out what is happening through that. Nicole said, here's a Sasquatch Ontario on YouTube. Watch his videos. Yeah, I think there was a guy that had a channel called Sasquatch or something. If I'm not, there was a YouTube channel from there. If you're watching and you haven't had an opportunity, you knew from the stream, please smash that thumbs up button. We need YouTube algorithm to know we're here. We're doing pretty good. And then often, I never really asked anybody to share. I don't know the impact on it. If y'all have an opportunity to share the video on YouTube, we want to see some more stuff from there. All right, so I'm setting up some interviews. I was going to bring Nick Pope on first. Me and him talked a little bit. Y'all think that'll be a pretty good interview, but I got a bunch of others. In fact, I'm reading this book. Let me show y'all this real quick. This book has been around a little bit. You can see it on the screen. It's called From the Motherland to the Mothership. And these are twins, Erling and Shirley. And they talk about, their encounters. And they so happen they live in Dallas, okay? They're a little older now. But, man, I sat down and went to lunch with them and reached out to them about interviewing them, talking about their encounters. And lovely ladies, very intelligent, and it's looked like they just had time had stopped, but just to hear their philosophy when it comes down to these extraterrestrials, definitely got to check out the book. I'm reading it, and then I'm gonna have them on, and we're gonna interview them here on YouTube. I'm probably try to set it up next week, and it's a wonderful story to hear that. Again, they were abducted. There was truly twins who they reunite as one began an incredible odyssey with interaction with extraterrestrials from other worlds. So, and they're twins. So, but one of them actually had the encounters, and it just got really pretty cool there. Bigfoot is probably the one paranormal thing we can prove. Well, where are they? We can say that we can prove it. But we still getting these same grainy photos. If I Google Bigfoot, I'm going to do that right now. And if you Google Bigfoot, we still don't have no clear photos of a Bigfoot. Now, that's something that's different than a UFO, because you could take a picture and see it. The UFO is moving so fast and it's 30,000 feet into the sky, we don't have an opportunity for that. So let's look at this real quick. So y'all can check it out. I mean, if you think about all of this stuff that we're talking about here, look at all these. Now, some of this is the same photos, but look at some of these Bigfoot encounters, some of the photos that showed. Now, this one here was pretty cool because it was like it was building something, and I didn't really get to check that out. But, let me see if I can put it over here, but it was like it was building a nest. But if you look at all of these encounters, and in this one, they're talking about a Bigfoot walking across the street. Now, that one there, it looks like one of those metal signs that you can buy. If you see one, I'm zooming the mouse around, just like this is right there. I don't think that is a Bigfoot at all. But again, they blurred it up. And of course, this is the most infamous one that we all seen. And then you look closer up here, you just think there's some mask or something. So, we just hadn't seen any good photos of Bigfoots, just like everything else. And so I think there's something interesting there from there, pretty much. So we have a few things that we could talk about. Bring more science to birds. Set up a motion-activated light, surveillance cameras, and land where the Bigfoot has been encountered, and you will get support. And that's what I was saying the same thing, C-Tex. And why can't we use all this technology we have to track and spot something that's moving? Now, but that goes back to my hypothesis of their pets. And the reason being, when they go back and disappear in that forest, is where you hear some of the people talk about where the Bigfoot is. They see light and it disappears. It has to going back in some spacecraft. It's just out for a stroll or its pee break or something. And because I don't think it has intelligence like Chewbacca in Star Wars. You know what it's saying. Eventually I guess we could be looking at Chewie and understand what he's talking about. But then I don't know if y'all remember back in the day, one of the greatest movies I used to watch, The $6 Million Man. You know, he run fast. You hear that noise. And then all of a sudden he started fighting a robotic Bigfoot too. Was it Bigfoot made a robot, I think? And that was a whole series. Him and Bigfoot had it going on, and he tore off his arm, and it was just like, all right, that was my introduction to Bigfoot from that movie. From there, so you know, it's like, all right, cool. You know, that was it there. But yeah, so I don't know about it. I just don't think they have that technology to where they are, you know, intelligent. Well, they're gonna have intelligence, but you know what I mean. Not the intelligence where Bigfoot, you know, has, you know, technology like cell phone technology, stuff that we can use. I just don't think they have that. He says the light is not a craft. They do have intelligence. I guess I'm not saying, JJ, intelligence of not knowing not to be seen. And I'm not saying intelligence not knowing here come a human, they smell and they go the other way, and not intelligence to go out and forage for food. But I'm talking electronic intelligence, you know, like we have technology intelligence, you know. So they're not cloaking. You know, and if they, you know, they're intelligent enough, you know, so, and then I don't know if y'all remember, we covered some stories of people, you know, that I forget what they call, but let me see if I remember the name, you know. Let me just do this thing here, and y'all can kind of see the images that I'm talking about. You know, they have a name, but there's a race of people that have hair, you know, all over their bodies, right? We talked about it in Clubhouse one week, and you can see them, you know, the family, they're completely, you know, and they're humans, they're here. I'm trying to see what their name is. If anybody know what I'm talking about, you know, there are people that, you know, they've seen families. The whole family had this gene, you know, that they have hair all over their body, and which you could, you know, look at and say, okay, that could be some kind of, you know, one of those stories. I'm just trying to figure if y'all remember. Anybody put it into the post, but I looked them up last week. Okay, yeah, so there it is right there. So I'm going to Google. Yeah, he says it's called Hirutism. Okay. And, yeah, so there's some that they're just really full body, you know, hair, just like, you know, the kids, the whole family. And I was like really, you know, seeing it. Okay, so werewolf syndrome, that's what I'm looking for. Yes. Let me pull that up in just a few minutes here. So now, could those people be some remnants of the culture of that? You know what I mean? And not to say in a negative sense, but okay, so let me bring y'all up the screen so you can see what I'm talking about here if you hadn't. So look at some of these faces here. All right, so, you know, could this one right here, this is an old sculpture picture, but let me bring it up. This is, what do y'all think about that? So what if this person was walking around? You don't think that it's just a medical condition? I don't know. It's a generic disorder, but could we be seeing people that are no longer want to be in part of society because they feel that they won't be accepted, and they just live out in the wilderness, and we're seeing them, and they're living, they're foraging, but we think it's Bigfoot. It could be somebody who's just ashamed of saying, I don't want society to see me this way. Here's an actual photo right here. Now, this is a kid, so imagine if it grows up to an adult, and when it will, how much hair and what it would look like, and does it feel accepted? And it just says, you know what, I'm just going to go I'm going to go live on the land. And from there. So could this be some of the remnants? Now, I know some of the pictures of Bigfoot people are tall. What do y'all think? Hit me in the chat. Am I going anywhere with that just as a possibility? I'm not seeing any truths to it at all. I'm just saying, could that be what we're talking about here? I mean, take a look at this guy, and this is real. They have Bigfoot DNA. Okay, someone's saying they have Bigfoot DNA. What do y'all think? Sure makes perfect sense, Bobby Martian says. What are you talking about, Bobby, in Clubhouse? You listening to me? All right, so you good. Appreciate you, Bobby. But give me a little more details in that chat, and I'll bring it up in the conversation here in Clubhouse. But, yeah, I mean, and still says, I wonder if their medical condition give them superhuman abilities to live in the wilderness. Well, it's not so much superhuman abilities. That's the way we were probably as humans. We lived off the land anyway. We didn't come into this world meat eaters and eating bulls and, hunting cattle. We was foraging off, land and, plant-based diets probably because that's the type of teeth that we have. Our teeth is made for chewing, chewing. And we don't have felines or whatever they call them. So we wasn't living off the jungle, out in the wilderness. So that is totally possible, that is, what's going on from there. Nicole says Bigfoot is a different species, though. Yeah, but we're talking hybrid over time. If you out there and you meeting other people like that, and, of course, hundreds of years of evolution, your body or the body is going to begin the process to evolve. It's going to get taller, stronger, bigger, feet bigger because you're walking around. And now, just over time, if there was generations of them in the wilderness, I'm just throwing it out there to say, why the big secret? Is it possible? There are a different branch of a family tree. And someone that says that's the only explanation because I heard Bigfoot was evolving like us, and so I guess we mixed a little bit and then separated. See, I'm glad I'm not just far-fetched, Can I call in on this topic? Yeah, you know what? I do have a guest line. Let me kind of see if I can hook that up, and let me see. Hang on a second. Let me try to see about hooking up the call-in studio. I haven't done it in a while, and see how we can bring it in. So hold on a minute. Let me see. Let's start this thing. Shoes. Let's start the show. Okay, I'm going to see if I can put it in the call-in number and hook it up so that you can do that. I'm online, so let's see if it allows me to do it from here. All right. Okay, I'm gonna see if I could. Let me hook that up and see if we can do that. So anyway, let me. Oh, that one's not in session. But anyway, so we'll keep the conversation going, but I'll definitely try to see if I could. He said, or you want me to tap in and join on Clubhouse. I always thought, let me look and see if we can do that. Bobby Martin says morphogenics is the next level of evolution. Well, I don't even know what that means, Bobby, but maybe you could explain that, and we can kind of go from there. Yeah, go ahead and pop over to Clubhouse real quick. I'll bring you up shortly. You can tell me what you're talking about. And then, Justin, I don't know if you can get into the Clubhouse room and see you on there, but I am working on this call-in thing. You can do that. So definitely want to hear that because I just don't think it's far-fetched that if they was out there in society, we can do that. So I'm going to bring up Dazali Wright here into the conversation here and see what we got here. All right, so we're getting ready to this is going to be live from Clubhouse here, and let me put it into the stream. All right, buddy, what's going on? Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Roderick? Right. It's an honor being up here with you. I'm really enjoying your show on both platforms, both Clubhouse
appreciate it.
YouTube. But yeah, I've been into the whole Bigfoot thing for over 20 years now.
Okay.
I first got into it after me and two other soldiers personally witnessed one up at Fort Wainwright, Alaska.
So what were y'all doing? Y'all were just there on just tell us about that event real quick.
Okay, all right, real quick. We were coming from our semi-annual skiing training. Training that we really hate, but we have to do. So we got to our training. It was on a hill not too far from our barracks. Actually, we went ahead and knocked it out. High speed, low drag. We were the first ones finished. We asked, could we go ahead and return to our barracks so that we could get our weekend started? The answer was yes. So we threw our gear in the Hummer, and we were out of there. First ones out. So we're driving down this dirt road that leads from the hill, then it wraps around to the main road, and it comes up to our barracks. We're driving down that road, just chatting, eager to get back. We weren't going fast, and all of a sudden, something stepped onto the road from the left side. Okay. It stepped on the road, and it just walked across. It turned at the waist, looked at us, and we're sitting in there, mouths open, eyes wide open, silent screams coming out. And the guy driving slammed on the brakes, and we were just stunned. We were all in our
but y'all in a Hummer that can run over bricks, y'all all armed to the teeth. Why y'all didn't chase this thing down? Like, what is that?
Firstly, let me tell you this. When you are training, you don't have live rounds, firstly.
Okay. All right.
Also, something that a lot of people do not realize about Bigfoot is that thing is just about as big as a Hummer. So if you hit it with a Hummer, the Hummer will probably not win, and it's just this feeling that you get that you're seeing something that you're not supposed to see. It's a feeling in your gut. It's like you're seeing something. I don't know. I guess I've compared it to almost seeing a dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's just this guttural fear. Even though it didn't do anything, aggressive towards us, it just stepped across the road, gazed at us, stepped to the other side, and pulled itself up into the trees.
Now, how tall you think this thing was?
I would say it was over 8. It was less than 10 feet, though. I wouldn't give it 10. Wow. It was over 8. Well, but the thing about it is how wide.
I was going to ask you. I was going to say, give us an estimate of the size of this creature.
How wide it is. Hold on, just a second. Let me shut this here dog up. Sorry.
Someone said Bigfoot has a weakness for beer and malt liquor. Y'all should have left him some in an open bucket. Now that would be definitely something.
But yeah.
Did you hear? Somebody in the YouTube chat said Bigfoot has a weakness for beer and malt liquor. Y'all should have left him some in an open bucket. But go ahead, give us the description of this thing.
What I've learned to, what I compare it to is, I'm sure that a lot of people have saw the movies Incredible Hulk. What will poke out to you is how wide the Hulk is in comparison to his height, and that is basically Bigfoot. It is wide. It is not just tall and slender. It is wide, man.
So that would mean that photo that I showed y'all a while ago. I'm gonna bring it back up while we're still talking. That the footprints couldn't be made by no Bigfoot because those things are kind of narrow, straight, and if he's big and wide, it's gonna be like a big body. I bet you that was an ET. But go ahead, keep going.
Now, when it comes to the footprint and Bigfoot, there are agencies. They have classified them as to 4 different types. There are types that are more slender, like when you come down south.
Oh, okay.
Those are generally more slender. They're not as tall down south and to the East Coast. The ones where I was at.
So hold on for a minute. So you're saying there's a different type of species of Bigfoot, right? Different models, so to speak, right?
Yes,
So
there are four different models.
Then that goes back with what I was saying earlier when we was talking about, that disease, the hyperchorosis, if I can pronounce it, that those could be people over time, years and years, that decided to go stay away from humanity. They evolved. It's just like evolution, getting bigger, stronger because of the climate and where they live. The body does that. That was just my theory, but keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when it comes to those theories, the latest one that I have come across that I give credence to is that, and it really takes some of the magic from it, because I had went down the line that they were Nephilim and et cetera. But what I have concluded now is that they're simply a species or a combination of species of, hominids that lived here with us 250,000 years ago. And then one of the things that many people don't know, and I think part of the secrecy for it, is that they can mate with us,
Mate with us?
Oh, yes, definitely.
What? You mean like
they can have children
with us, though?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh-wee. All right, women, y'all, any one of y'all out there that's not in a relationship will want to get in a relationship with a Bigfoot or a man, either way, but keep going. You throwing some stuff out there to me?
Yeah, there's one classic case that happened over in Russia, Asia. I think it's Russia, in that area, and I'm trying to think of her name. Zeta, but they actually have documents where she was captured while she was young. She was broken, and she had became quite tame. And as was common for that time, which was the 19th century, they, the guys would get drunk, and they would, mate with her. And she actually had children. The later children survived, and they, found her grave and one of her child's graves, and they actually did DNA testing on it. I was just listening to that like last week,
Wow.
But yeah.
See, that's two things, on the humor side, boy, drunk person will do anything these days, but on the other side of that is just the human experience, just out of naivety, just saying, okay, we're just going to play and breed, or, while I'm having sex with this thing. I mean, that's just kind of crazy. And I'm not calling it thing because I have no identifiers to give it a name. We call it Bigfoot, but only because of the tracks that it leaves. But obviously it does have. And Danny in YouTube said he's talking about Xena of Russia. So that is a story. And now, again, this is someone that they did capture from the wilderness, correct?
Yes, they captured her, and questions were asked, how could they capture something like that? And the theory that they have was because the country was being ravaged by, was it the Black Plague or some other virus there? But they were saying that it probably had wiped out the male members of her clan. That's why she was vulnerable. When they caught her, she was probably, the equivalent of a 13, 14-year-old girl. But even at that age, she was stronger than all of them. And, she could run faster. They said that she could run as fast as a horse, but yeah.
Whoa. That is like, fast as a horse. That is like, I'm pulling up. I'm trying to Google now, see if they got story. Wow. Okay, they got some old pictures of her though. They call it an ape woman or something who can outrun a horse.
I'm not sure if that's the same, but like I said, they had broke her. I think it was said they kept her in a hole in the ground for like 7 years, until her spirit was finally broke, and she actually became part of that village. She would do tasks like she would lift all of the heavy items, and on top of them, using her as some type of brothel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got a picture of her online now that is showing that it just says 8 woman could not run a horse, and it got her. She had a few hybrid kids. 2 brothers did this one. Man, that is pretty much, I tell you what, see, and though that's that thing that we think about, and how I pronounce that name of yours. Is it Dizag, or how do we do that?
Oh, Dizak. Dizali, man. You probably knew me earlier as Dizali. Yes.
Yeah. Sir. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool, man. And so I appreciate you coming up. We got about 5 minutes left, so I'll bring you out. We're gonna close out in about 5 minutes. But I appreciate you contributing to the story.
All right, man. Appreciate you having me. Anytime.
Right. Yeah,
later.
All right, man. Y'all heard it. That is some things that we really, truly. As you look into this, man, this whole phenomenon period is just pretty, all of it, this whole phenomenon of what we dealing with, from the UFOs, extraterrestrials, aliens, hybrids, Bigfoot, Yetis, how deep did this rabbit hole really go? How much of what we think we know, we may not know much of anything, as far as a collective of what is really happening here. Right. I mean, we got remnants of things. We got remnants of, like you said, the stories, and like they were just out on patrol, and it wanted to be seen because obviously it walked in front of them and it heard them coming. It could have hid, stopped, posed, so to speak, as he said, and looked, turned to the right so they can see it, and like, hey, what's up? And kept going. Obviously, it had no fear, because it wasn't, worried about being shot at in a big Humvee military. So that goes back to that intelligence thing, JJ. Would it have known that this was a military people and showing his face like that and with the possibility of being shot at? I don't know. So it's one of those things that we, again, make you go, what really happens out there? And pretty much, we got a few seconds or minutes left. If you're in the chat, if you have not, please smash the like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, if you down here in Clubhouse and you find some value, hit that pin link up there. Come over to YouTube, subscribe to my channel. If that's what you can do, and value and like the channel, like the videos and everything else. And just do that, and I really appreciate the support for any of you. Give me some feedback tonight on tonight's show. Let me know what you guys think about it. Tomorrow, I think we do really need to go into that Lou Elizondo thing and break it. And it's going to take days to break that down. We can't do all that in one show. We might just do a series for about 5-6 days. That's how deep that information is, and everything else. Thank you, C Tex. Thank you, Roderick. Keep up the great work. So yeah, let me just put that on screen. There we boom, right there. We know I send you another 1111. Man, you know what? Hey, let me do this first. Oh, I can't. There you go. So thank you, Roderick. Keep up the good work. And Forgin said I send you another $11.11. Man, I appreciate it. I can't tell you. And I harp on this all the time, and I know it sounds like it's a begging scenario, but I really appreciate those supports, because this is what I do full time. And, although I'm in a few TV shows, they're not paying me a lot of money anyway yet, but maybe next year, a year and a half, once my name get out there and you can demand more for other projects. And if I had to get a job where they said, Roderick, you need to work from 3 to 11, I wouldn't be here. And all this stuff, and pretty much. So I do a lot of little side stuff to, make sure that I can stay intact and still do investments into technology to put us in the forefront of information. And this is why you see me start streaming every day, because, ultimately, as this subscriber base picks up, and there's YouTube advertisement, ad revenue and things. And there's a lot of other people out there. They got huge audiences, and they're doing really well. But I think we can put a better perspective in our own way, as truth seekers and a big secret secret keepers and all that from Why the Big Secret. And so having some more guests and interview, I know I'll pick up the pace, and I'm planning on doing that. So again, that $11.11 was just, beautiful to let you know. And I really appreciate it. And I'm just saying it because the little things, and that is big in this space. And just saying that I thank you from there. So again, if you found value out of the show tonight, let me know in the chat real quick. Let me know what you think, or what we could do different, or how do you select your topics? This is what JJ says. I do what's in the news, and then basically I try to find things that I'm interested in first, because I don't like to try to talk about something that I can't be interested in, because it's going to relate to you that is, I'm not being genuine in the conversation with you, JJ. But I try to find things but with the news desk stuff that we do, we can find things in real time. So that means most of the articles and everything is happening in real time. So we're going to always be on top of it. So, and then we can start talking about things that surface in real time. But my hopes is with the truth seeker community that they start seeing things when those reports, and then they'll signal to me, hey, Roderick, this is something good. And I haven't had that yet, but, maybe I'm signaling to all of y'all. But the ones who are getting those emails is to help me cultivate content, and, because I can't read and see all of those things, or from a different approach. And then, of course, y'all have my email address, and some of you got my personal text, and you can say, hey, man, this is a great story. Nicole will send me YouTube videos, articles all the time. And that's something from there. Okay, so Nicole says she liked the topics. Danny say he likes to don't change anything. Yeah, because that was the whole format. Doing the would you rather, and just kind of doing an approach. I've been working on this for weeks, trying to make sure that I can make this what we call infotainment, right? And I have my own humor, so I'll tell you some stuff. Hopefully I'm funny. I'm funny sometimes, but I really like hearing from the audience and you telling me what do you think about everything. And we'll be here tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll be here Thursday, and then on Fridays from 7 to 9 to 8 o'clock, I'm streaming with UNX, the UNX radio station, the UNX is what it's called, the Unexplained Network. So I'll be doing that on Fridays, and we call it that Freaky Friday. So we'll be putting the same format together from there, and we would do that. So with that being said, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure. I'm Roderick Martin, your host tonight. Bring some Bigfoot hair samples on the show. Yeah, I know, right? That'll be cool. Come in, have our little, we're doing some scientific approach. That will be awesome to truly do that, and everything else. So some final announcements. Once again, Thursday, we'll have, Marie Jackson back. She is the ghost hunter. So, we're doing that every Thursday. And I think Heidi Hollis will probably be with us as well. She does more the black hat, the shadow people. And we're all just talking from a UFO investigator, from the ghost hunter, from the spirit hunters. There's a correlation between the three. And we probably never find the answer, but we can talk about stories and interaction between all these things connected. And I think that's a good place to begin to check that out with there. So that is something that we would do. So that is this Thursday. And then this Friday will be Freaky Friday. So I'm every day. So from 8 to 10. So again, like this video on YouTube, share if that's all possible, subscribe to the channel if that's all possible, and we will definitely be able to put this together and do some things. So with that being said, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight as an audience, because it means a lot to me to put in the work to do this, and putting in more time to make things more specific, and then cover more UFO stories. Eventually, I'll show you. I got permission from MUFON, so I'll start showing you some of those investigations and how I do it, and bringing you a whole different perspective. It's just a little difficult trying to put it all together now that I got the format down of what I'm doing, and so just can let you know this is the organization of things. So what I do is I have everything formatted, and then I just kind of go over the different sections and the different stories of what I'm doing, and so to make sure that I organize the content so that we stay on point And so that's how I essentially try to put those stories together and everything else. And so with that being said, I've said goodbye twice, but once again, I'm about to leave. And so.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
I said I'm about to leave. So anyway, good night, everyone, and thank y'all for coming. I'll see you tomorrow.